Hey guys, Ramsey here. Tonight we have a early impression on a sample that was sent to me by one of my perfume godparents. Thank you very much. And you know who you are. Appreciate very much. The fragrance is from a house that I have become somewhat familiar with over the last year or two, I would say. The house of Les Néréides, or Les Néréides. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Les Néréides is probably correct. And Les Néréides released a fragrance called Imperial Opoponax. Now, some search engines have it listed only as Opoponax, so it may have been rebranded. I think originally it was Imperial Opoponax. That's how it's listed on the sample. And so I've applied it twice. I've got about an hour and a half dry down here. Remember, these videos are just like quick hit, very early impressions, just so I can talk about a fragrance that I probably would, that I probably will never own a full bottle of unless something like this really, I'm smitten with. And I will tell you from the start that I expected something quality from this house, and at least it delivered. So if you've been watching my videos, you know that one of the bottles that I've shown off in recent videos, and then also if you go watch my, this is not a top 10 patchouli episode, this bottle came up. It's from the same house, Les Néréides, and this is called Patchouli Antique. And beautiful bottle, beautiful. I love the presentation, although it's very simple, nothing crazy about it. The patchouli is an amazing patchouli fragrance. If you just like your patchoulis, out front and center, heavy patchouli dominant, dark, chocolatey, resinous, that kind of thing, this is a fantastic fragrance. You don't have to spend, hundreds to get a good patchouli. And I will say this is the vintage bottle. You can barely see the writing on the back, but it basically just says agua and parfum right there, and that's it. There's no other notes listed. Alcohol, de not parfum agua, that's it. And so this is an older bottle. I don't know. I think I got this from Australia or something like that. It was from the other side of the world. But I only paid $35 for this 100 ml, and it's one of the best $35 patchoulis I've ever come across. Now, I don't know, the new bottles look a little different than this. I think they just have like a cleaner label, almost like business card looking label on the front that says Les Néréides, and that's it. But the bottle itself looks very similar. So, the reason I was expecting quality from Imperial Opoponax is because of this. This is a quality patchouli fragrance. No one talks about this fragrance. No one talks about this house, to be honest with you. And so I had some expectations, and they were met. I will tell you that. They were definitely met. Opoponax I've enjoyed so far. Again, it's only been an hour and a half, maybe pushing an hour, 45 minutes, and that's it. That's as long as it's been on my skin. It's described as a sweet oriental fragrance. Here's the notes. Orange zest, bergamot, jasmine from grass, hawthorn, sandalwood, myrrh, vanilla, musk, benzoin. And if you know the name Opoponax, it basically is an ingredient. It's a note that's known as sweet myrrh. Okay, and I love myrrh. Myrrh is one of my favorite notes. Resins in general, I would say, are one of my favorite notes. And here, when it opens, you basically get something that's very airy, okay? It starts off very light and airy with this sour, not sour, I would say slightly bitter smell, okay? So that slightly bitterness comes from orange zest. So imagine you've, taken a grinder and kind of ground some of the orange peel off and let it fall into a bowl or into a, on top of ice cream or in a drink or something like that. That's that sour, bitter type opening. But it doesn't last very long. It's very quickly swallowed up by the amber. And that amber note, in general, is kind of just like a blob of amber. It's very hard to pick out notes in these type of compositions because they're usually you know, resinous, and they blend together into this traditional amber smell, if you will. If you know a couple fragrances that I've talked about before, I'll just give you an idea. So here's one, Obsession by Calvin Klein for men. Obsession for women also would work, but this is the vintage Calvin Klein Cosmetics version. I'm in love with this fragrance. I like this more than Imperial Opoponax, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But basically, in a nutshell, the animalics here from the vintage 80s bottles of Calvin Klein Obsession are more turned up. This is much more furry, much more, there's a little more tingly animalic funk in the background in vintage Obsession. Opoponax, Imperial Opoponax tends to go more into the soft, ambery category, if you will. There's no Opoponax listed as a note, which is unique. Okay, there is myrrh, but there's no Opoponax note. If you know this fragrance, Crazy Krizia. This is another one of these $40 fragrances that punches way above its weight class. I would probably take this over Imperial Opoponax, but even though I'm saying that, I don't want to discount Imperial Opoponax. I mean, I'm putting it up against basically two of my favorite amber fragrances from that time period, the 80s, early 90s. And so it's hard to compete with all-time greats. I think this is a highly underrated amber fragrance, highly underrated. And it's a Dominique Ropion, so you know you're getting a quality nose. I can't believe no one talks about this. Obsession has just been butchered by Coty, so if you buy the new stuff and you think it sucks, try to find yourself a vintage Calvin Klein Cosmetics. You'll change your tune instantly. Also, it reminded me in the opening, and also as it dries, it reminds me a little bit of this. If for Men by Sorella Fontana. I've mentioned this fragrance before because this came out before this. This is Boucheron Jaipur Homme, and I've talked about this fragrance before. This is an Annick Monardo. This is the Eau de Parfum. It's probably closer to the Eau de Parfum because it's a little bit more powdery, and the Eau de Parfum is more powdery, whereas the Eau de Toilette is more citrus heavy. Imperial Opoponax is much less citrus heavy. It's more about the ambers, that ambery feel. Now, it does have a couple other qualities. And that is that there's two florals that play into this fragrance. One is hawthorn and one is jasmine from grass. Hawthorn, for some reason, every time I smell hawthorn, it gives me this white, you know, this tan white image in my mind. And it really happened in this. This is Cuirange. Jean-Claude Elena used hawthorn to perfection here with the leather, so it makes it almost seem like a white leather. The hawthorn and jasmine from grass in Imperial Opoponax gives the amber bubble, if you will. You know, imagine you've got this amber bubble surrounding you. Because, you know, amber fragrances are going to smell somewhat alike, especially if they're done in this style. You know, amber is a common fragrance theme that many houses try to do. Some of them end up smelling very similar, kind of like patchouli. You know, patchouli fragrances end up sometimes smelling very similar. But the hawthorn and the jasmine sets this apart initially. Because of the fact that it almost gives it like this, whether they meant to do it or not, it almost gives it like this clean vibe, this white, clean, amber type vibe in my head when I smell this. And the other thing about this fragrance is it starts off very soft and then it grows. You know, it starts to get some muscle all of a sudden. And right when you think it's soft after 5 or 10 minutes and you're like, man, this really is going to be close to the skin. It's not projecting. It twists. It takes off. I can't talk to you about longevity and you know, all that good stuff because these are just quick hit videos. Late night insights, as Rich Mitch would say. But these are this fragrance grows. It's a grower. It's not something that is a skin scent, I don't think. I think if you applied this on your pulse points and went out, people would smell you. That being said, I like the way it evolves. Everything smells high quality. There's some sandalwood, and there's some benzoin, and there's some musk that mixes with that traditional vanilla and myrrh, to create that amber profile. If there is labdanum, it's very little. It's not a labdanum heavy amber fragrance in the same way that the Zoo Everlasting is, or in the same way that Sahara Noir by Tom Ford is. That's one I'd love to have. Very hard to find, though. I've got a sample, and it's beautiful. It's not labdanum heavy in those scents. It's not labdanum heavy like Le Lion is. I think Le Lion is probably the best labdanum ever created. I love labdanum. Absolutely love it. But sometimes you don't want labdanum. And, you want a more traditional amber profile. And for those days, I would probably reach for maybe the scents that we just talked about. I would say that I might even take this over something like Grand Soir. I don't know. Grand Soir is kind of boring to me. Imperial Opoponax seems, it seems like it's a little bit more interesting. But I like this scent profile. But the thing is, I already have stuff like this, to wear, whereas this goes a little bit more masculine. If by Sorella Fontana is a very underrated fragrance. No one talks about this. This came from Anuj at Enchanté Perfumes. He might still have bottles even. But if you like this type of scent profile from Jaipur, I think I did a video on this. If you search this brand, Sorella Fontana, or look for If for Men on my channel, you might see a video on it. I can't remember if I did a full video or if I just wore it as my scent of the day and talked about it for that day. You know what I mean? But this is very underrated as a fragrance. And get back here. Okay. Yeah, I like this fragrance because it keeps it that amber profile that I was talking about, but it adds some masculine elements to it. And then it has one of my favorite poems in the front from Rudyard Kipling, which I did read, I think, on air. It's a beautiful poem. So yes, I love the presentation with the book, and this is one where if you like this style, I think you would like Imperial Opoponax. If you're picking up what I'm putting down with Calvin Klein's Obsession, even maybe going back to Lagerfeld Cologne, or KL Homme. I haven't tried the woman's KL yet, although I did buy a bottle. It's up there. I just haven't had a chance to smell it yet. I might wear it as a scent of the day soon, but waiting for the weather to cool a little bit. But Imperial Opoponax would go beautifully in the winter, whenever you want that, whenever you want that sweet, ambery, oriental fragrance. And it's very high quality. I don't know what these Les Néréides fragrances go for. Since I got this on eBay for so cheap from someplace in Australia, I had to pay for shipping, which was, probably, if I remember, just as much as the fragrance, or close to it. It was like a $35 fragrance and $20, $25, $30 for shipping, but well worth it. This is a fantastic fragrance if you're a big patchouli fan. And I would say if you're a big amber fan, Imperial Opoponax is one to put on the to sniff list. No one talks about this brand. They aren't trendy. They aren't flashy or fancy or anything like that. They're not going to make top 10 lists of free bottles given to influencers, but I like this. I think this is good. Would I go out and buy a bottle? Probably not, just because I'm already pretty stocked. But if you don't have amber fragrances in your collection and you're searching, let's say you're sampling, I would say put Imperial Opoponax on the to sniff list. It might surprise you a little bit. This house might actually surprise you. This house of Les Néréides might surprise you. They are a sleeper house for sure. They're a sleeper house, and this is one I never would have got to try if not for my perfume fairy god person. So I very much appreciate it. You know who you are. These videos are meant to be just quick hits on my thoughts. That's kind of how I feel about it. There's really not much more to say, honestly. Maybe if I wore it longer, more would, emerge as the hours ticked by, but it seems like from, an hour and a half ago versus now, I put this on right before I started the video 15, 20 minutes ago. It seems like a very linear scent. There is a touch of sweetness here, and, for someone like me who doesn't like sweetness, this is a fantastic fragrance, by the way. If you're looking for a cheapie, this is one of the best masculine cheapies of all time, Jaipur Homme. And it is in this style, but this does different things. There's some differences here, obviously. But it's in this oriental, style. And it's a cheapie as well. So you can find, pretty good deals. Everything I've talked about can be had. I think Anuj found me this bottle for $80 or something of vintage Calvin Klein Obsession. This is probably the most expensive thing I talked to you about. This 100 ml bottle was $40. This was cheap as chips. I can't remember how much I paid for this. Maybe like $50 for a 50 ml. So there's definitely good cheap ambers, and even this, if this is 40 or 50 bucks, Imperial Opoponax, you could have yourself an amazing amber collection. Forget about the Grand Soirs. Don't give MFK $280 for 70 mils. That cheap ass 70 mil bottle. He gyps us 30 mils. It should be 100, but it's 70 mils. Don't give him $280 for Grand Soir when there's stuff like this out there. They're not the same fragrance, obviously. Grand Soir does some different things, with the resins and stuff like that. It goes in a little bit of a different direction, but this is very good. Even for someone like me who doesn't like super sweet fragrances, the sweetness here is done very well. It seems like the sweetness is pulled off of the ingredients themselves. Like you're smelling some of the sweetness from the vanilla and the myrrh, and not synthetic sweetness. The benzoin, the warmth of benzoin is underneath it all. And you're smelling the sweetness, but it's from the ingredients themselves, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like that synthetic, disgusting sweetness that I so abhor nowadays. So yes, that's my take. I mean, if you like something like Shalimar, even, you could go back to Shalimar. This has that bergamot vanilla combo, but Shalimar is, I mean, if you don't have Shalimar in your collection, forget about all the stuff I'm talking about right now and just go buy Shalimar in Eau de Parfum would be my recommendation. And if you love it, go buy a vintage Shalimar. And if you love it even more, then you can start dabbling in some of these. But it's in that style, and it's well done. I mean, the quality is there for sure. If MFK put this out for $280 for 70 mils, and this was the product, I promise you people would pay it. And they'd get on the internet and they'd talk about how amazing the quality is and all that. But since it's 30 or 40 bucks, no one probably talks about it. I don't know how much it is, but that's my guess. So, a little bit of a sleeper pick. That's the reason I like doing these videos. My guess is if you go online and look for Les Néréides Opoponax or Imperial Opoponax, you're not going to find very many YouTube videos on it, right? So I figured, what the heck? Take some time, upload a quick video at night, and if it helps one person, I'm happy, That's the way I'm viewing these. So, thanks for watching. If by any chance any of you happen to have experience with Imperial Opoponax, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you have experience with the brand of Les Néréides at all, let me know. I think Jonathan turned me onto this one, if memory serves, and it was a very good rec. He's had some fantastic recs for me. And so, yes, appreciate everyone watching. Likes, subscriptions, comments, of course, always help the channel. They help the visual, I would say, when people are searching YouTube looking for this stuff, getting recommendations. They help like-minded people find the community. So I'm always very appreciative to people who subscribe and like and comment and all that stuff. I know you have a choice, and I know you don't have to. So I hope everyone has a good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Cheers. Bye, guys.